Okay. Okay, McClay School, you now have 5 minutes to present your shortened presentation.
Okay, thank you. Okay, my time will start now. To speak or not to speak.
Applying 3 of our own tests to give you your final recommendation.
Our primary stakeholders in this case are the
on the speaker, and finally, protecting the First Amendment rights of both the speaker and the students.
Because our case deals with private schools, our financial considerations are the impact on donors, amount of enrollment fluctuation, and the cost of protecting the speaker. And for small private schools, like the one in New Vienna in our case, where the city's population is only 400, any loss of revenue would be detrimental to the functioning of the school.
Finally, and most importantly, we looked at the ethical considerations of this case. We wanted to make sure any potential solution enforced and reinforced democratic ideals within the school. Secondly, we wanted to make sure the students' mental health was fully protected and students would not get hurt. And finally, we viewed our solutions using the precedent of the Chicago Principles. The Chicago Principles are a set of guidelines created by the University of Chicago, which essentially state that a school has a moral responsibility to its students to promote a lively culture of democratic debate, regardless of if that means bringing controversial ideas onto campus.
Our first solution considered is the bubble solution, where all controversial speakers are banned from talking on campus.
Our second solution is the status quo solution, which is presented in our case, where all speakers would be allowed to present with mandatory attendance.
Our final solution is the guardrail solution, where all speakers are allowed to talk, but with various safeguards put in place. For example, there would be heightened communication between the parents and the school before speakers brought onto campus. Additionally, there's an opt-out option for particularly uncomfortable students. Finally, there would be smaller breakout rooms with the speaker and faculty to discuss these sensitive topics. We then paired our 3 solutions with the 9 considerations discussed earlier to compare the practicality and usefulness of each solution. A green square indicates the solution performed well, while red means poor performance and yellow indicates a neutral analysis. Some considerations don't apply to the bubble solution, which explains the gray squares along the top row. Finally, when analyzing this chart, we determined the guardrail to be most beneficial, so we would go more in depth on that.
The guardrail solution excelled in all 3 categories of parameters we analyzed. We found that under this solution, legal problems would be limited, school finances would be supported and even benefited compared to the status quo, and democratic ideals at the school would be reinforced. We believe that finances would benefit under this solution because, as Professor of Yale University explains, new donors appreciate the competitive value of investing in these centers of free thought and innovation. Under this solution, we find that democratic ideals would be very present on campus, which would lead to this new increase in donors. Additionally, this supports our precedent of the Chicago Principles because there's a back and forth conversation between the speaker and the students where ideas are being traded. And as Justice Holmes explains, students' intellectual development is dependent on this free trade in ideas. This solution emphasizes that back and forth communication between the speaker and the students with many different ideas, many of which might be unknown or unfamiliar for the students.
To solidify our analysis of each solution, we looked at 3 different tests. Our first test is the precedent test, where a school policy would be implemented based off the solution. We would then determine how well this policy prepared the school for all future controversies and prepare how successful the precedent was to the precedents of other solutions.
Our second test was the well-being test, which was created to analyze the impact on the mental health of students. We first looked at how many students would be affected by this solution, and then we wanted to see to what extent does this solution protect or even hinder the mental health of students, which we finally compared to the other solutions to see which solution had the most impact on well-being.
Our final test is the utopia test, and we looked at how each solution would promote high levels of thoughtful discussion in the larger community, and we wanted to see how beneficial each solution had on an impact on its surrounding community. Thus, our final recommendation for all stakeholders is the guardrail solution, which allows controversial speakers, but with advanced communication with the parents, optional attendance for students, and the addition of breakout rooms to discuss these sensitive topics. Thus, we designate Solution 3 our perfect world solution because it enhances our democratic ideals, protects the mental health of students, and protects the school from financial or legal liabilities.
Thank you. We are Utopia Consulting.
Although utopia is unattainable, we're here to help you approach perfection.
Okay, thank you, Maclay School. Okay, judges will now have a moment to ask you the final question based on your presentation.
That's the final question. Would it make a difference in this situation if this was a public school with a voluntary event?
So you will now have 2 minutes to deliberate, and feel free to mute yourself, turn your camera off, and then you will present for 1 minute. Okay, Maclay School, your time is up.
Okay.
Okay, so you will now have 1 minute to present the solution to the question, starting now.
In the case of a public school event with voluntary attendance, we would continue to advocate for our guardrail solution, which allows controversial speakers on campus, but with safeguards such as smaller public forum discussion. We acknowledge that our financial considerations would be a lot less significant under this case, but we still move forward with our legal and ethical considerations.
Even in the case of a public school event, we find that all schools, as stated in the Chicago Principles, have a moral responsibility to educate their students and promote this lively democratic debate. Thus, we would want controversial ideas to be introduced as well to public students because they have that same requirement for education. Additionally, for legal considerations, we would continue to emphasize protecting the free speech of the speaker and the students. We would not in any way want to restrict that free speech, regardless of whether it's a public or private school.
Thus, our guardrail solution can fit all types of education, whether private or public, through the advancement of democratic ideals.
Thank you.
And your time is up. Okay, thank you, Maclay School. And thank you to all the schools for presenting today. So you've made it to the end, and it's the exciting part now. So I think all of you can take a deep breath, Gus. So I will move on with wrapping up our competition today and get into the award ceremony. And with that, I just want to remind everyone and all the teams that each of the 12 teams that were able to participate will receive a certificate of participation. So those will be mailed out. Then going into first through fourth place members will get $150 each. Second place will get $100. Third place will get $50. and fourth place will get $25. And lastly, first through third places will receive a trophy. And I happen to have one right here. Can't really see the writing, of course, because the wall behind me, but you will receive a trophy for first through third. So I will continue with announcing each place. In fourth place, we have Michael Ding and Jason Gao with Mercersburg Academy. So congratulations. In third place, we have Jenna Springer and Andrew Perrin with Culver Academies. So congrats. In second place, we have Daniel Eden and Zane Adamani with Brophy College Prep. Congratulations. And in first place, we have Nirmay Bandery and Colin Roberts with the McClay School. So congratulations to them. I wish you all could hear the claps, but at least you can see them. So thank you all for participating.